The pressure of the awakening journey is much like the pressure that a lump of coal might feel buried deep in a rock. Because we know that when that pressure builds on the coal, it has no choice but to turn into a diamond, right? And the pressure of the ego in the awakening journey is much similar to that. The pressure that the ego makes us feel inside, in time, leaves us with no option to drop that ego and reveal the diamond that we always were. I'm going to talk about this today a little bit, and if you are interested in why you might be feeling so much pressure inside, then this might be the video for you. Now, it's not just spiritual people, because we're not even spiritual people. I don't identify as a spiritual person. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy walking through this path of life. And I'm just implementing a few spiritual ideas. You know, if you want to learn some of these principles that I'm talking about, me living out in my life, you're more than welcome to sign up for the one-to-one coaching down below, and there's a free breathing practice down there as well, and a free community should you wish to sign up for that. Also, these spiritual ideas, we're not spiritual people. This is more identity stuff anyway. Oh, let's hang around more spiritual people and be really spiritual together. We know in our life it doesn't work like that, because we're not spiritual people. That's identity. We're just people. In fact, when we lose the identity to people, or at least have some understanding, we see, oh no, I'm just consciousness, and everybody else is just consciousness, seeing through the lens of people, or seeing through the facade, the mask of God, which is the person, right? This personal identity, and me seeing myself as separate to all of you, when really we're not. We're more intimate than intimate, because we know each other, because we are each other. So, this pressure that we feel inside, because we do on the awakening journey, because we have feelings like I'm losing control of my life, or we have feelings of this life isn't working out the way I wanted it to, and thank God it didn't, but that creates pressure inside, doesn't it? Or we have conditioning pressure. We're brought into this world as a clean slate of consciousness, and we're like a sponge, aren't we? And we take in the conditioning of our parents or loved ones, etc. And as we do that, we become this one with this conditioning. Like I was talking about the mask of God, we become this personal identity with this conditioning. That's the only thing that separates us, body to body, consciousness to consciousness. But it's this conditioning as well that can create some of that pressure inside. Pressure to be a certain way, pressure to behave a certain way, pressure to, if you're Indian, find a certain lover of a certain family, for example, I don't know, you know. There's lots of these conditioning pressures that we might well be building inside of us. And like the analogy I gave earlier of the lump of coal turning into a diamond under pressure, we're kind of a bit like that too. You know, we're not separate to nature. We are nature and its expression. And the nature's rules we observe, and we can't get away from them. And sometimes we have this arrogance inside, and we're like, well, nature, we're separate from nature, and nature's rules don't affect me. But I guarantee you that the simpler we get and the less we really know, the less we profess to know, the more we know, because we see really clearly, oh right, yeah, nature is just like me. It is me, and nature's effects has exactly the same effects on me as it does that plant or whatever. So we can take our clues, because the clues are everywhere, right? We take our clues from nature. And what's happening, what happens with pressure, because we know this stuff now, is it creates beautiful sparkly objects. Now, we're not talking about materialism, and we're not talking about becoming a materialistic ego or a spiritual ego that thinks it's sparkly when really it smells of shit. Sorry, that's getting demonetized, isn't it? But I know this in my life too. So we sometimes have experiences inside of ourselves, don't we, where we know these things that we're doing are things that we probably should change about ourselves. Let me give some examples. We think about alcoholism. If we're doing that, we know this isn't healthy for us, and after a while of going through that rigmarole, we begin to see, I think I want to make a change here. Now, wanting to make the change doesn't make the change, right? Unless you really, really want to make the change, in which case that will come about. But what the pressure will be doing inside of you is building that hot pot so that the need for change comes. So what do I mean? When we think, I need to quit alcohol, or I need to quit drugs, or I need to quit binge eating and take care of my health, or I need to leave this girlfriend because she's not healthy for me, or I need to stop this obsessive thought pattern. The thought in itself is the indicator that the change is coming, so well done. We can take heed in that, but the thought itself won't create the change. We need to want to change, right? You will not change unless you want to change. And us humans, we can be really, really, I know this in myself, really stubborn. So what is it then that creates this want to change, or this need to change? Well, it's continued building up of pressure by making the same mistakes over and 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 over again, until the pressure builds up so tight inside that we have no other option but to change. And it's not like I'm doing the change, it's just that the pressure's become so much that change happens, much like the lump of coal in the Rocky Mountain. The high pressure, it's not like the coal has any choice. Coal can't sit there arrogantly, no, I won't change. I'll just stay here as coal forever. Who am I? I'll just stay as coal forever. No, the pressure forces the change. And there's questions about taking personal responsibility, isn't there? About our changes. But you see, even with the best intentions sometimes, you say, I'm making this change, yet the next day we're exactly the same. Why is that? Well, one, we don't have as much free will as we think we do, clearly, because we can't change when we say that we want to change, although sometimes we can. Well, I can't remember where I was going with that. So, the pressure in time will force change, and this is why the pressure builds. It's not like life is saying, you're a bad person, you shouldn't be doing this action, because we're doing that, right? And that's what's creating this pressure build-up, these thoughts, these egoic thoughts, I shouldn't be doing this. And they're innocent, and they're wonderful because they'll create beautiful change in you. I suppose actually it's more like when the pressure builds, we have to look inside of ourselves. We have to, I suppose, relax the intention off of the pressure so that we begin feeling who we are. And then change just spontaneously occurs, you know? For me, that's my experience of it. But the pressure must be there first to unleash the diamond that we always were. I hope this video helps. I don't know if it will. But there's that. The pressure in the awakening is necessary. And if you feel the pressure building, that's a good thing. Have a lovely evening.